You're listening to iFanboy Pick Week episode 1005. My name is Conor Kilpatrick, and joining me in place of my regular co-host Josh Flanagan this week is Dr. Ryan Haupt.
Hey, everybody.
It's our Thanksgiving episode. It's our after Thanksgiving episode, which we record right after Thanksgiving, and it's always chaos.
Ryan is fantastic.
Ryan is recording from a cabin in the woods. I was literally on the 405 racing home 20 minutes ago to get here to do this, so we didn't read all of our books. At least I didn't read all my books this week, as it sometimes happens during Thanksgiving week. But we're going to just attempt to do our best to have the best show possible. Ryan, did you finish all your books this week?
Most of them. I got closer than I thought I was going to get, honestly.
So this is how it goes. The old days, the Thanksgiving show usually was half as long, but we try to do a full show for you because we're professionals. Welcome to iFanboy 2025. It's our 20th year of doing this show, our 25th year of doing iFanboy. That means every week for 25 years, one of us has picked the book they like the best. We call that book the pick of the week. We'll talk about that book, other books from the week, Patron Pick, listener mail. We'll attempt to not pass out. I'm tired. I'm not hungover, but I'm just exhausted. And so it's been a long week. I was happy to read comics. I'm happy to be back with you, Ryan. Here's your spoiler warning. Exercise some caution. This week, Ryan had the heavy responsibility in the midst of family activities to decide the pick of the week.
I did, and my family was kind to give me some time and space to get my books read, which I'm grateful for. And my pick this week was Escape number 4, which I was actually behind on, so I had to get caught up on.
Yeah, it wasn't on the list. We send each other what we're reading just so we know, and it wasn't on your list. So I was surprised when you said it was the pick of the week.
Yeah, so I have the list I send Connor, and then I have the secret backup list of books I'm going to try to catch up on. So there are a couple books on that list, and this was one. These are fortunately these issues are quick to read, but they're meaty. So this is Rick Remender doing a World War II POW downed bomber pilot book. I mean, it's probably too highfalutin to say that this is Rick Remender's Mouse, but it's kind of like it's hard not to make that comparison when it's animals in World War II circumstances.
Right. And it's but it's inspired by his uncle, who was a World War II bomber pilot. He talks a lot about his uncle in all the essays in the back. And so there's a lot of personal stuff. I mean, Rick is probably the furthest thing from a rah-rah, wave the flag kind of guy. So this is clearly there's something he wants to tell here. And he's got Daniel Cunha and Russ Wooten on his team to do it. And it's a lovely book.
I think this is some of the best Acuna. I mean, Acuna's been great for a while, but this is, I think, some of his finest work I've seen in recent memory. I think the most recent book we had was that Avengers Twilight book, which was good.
Yep. I
think this is a cut above in terms of his cartooning, the expressionism, the little details here and there. I really like this main character, the pilot, who's the last of his, is it B-29 that went down in the first issue?
I believe so.
Flying Fortress, and a really cool plane for folks who aren't plane nerds. It's one of my weird things. Raised by an Air Force dad, I am into planes. But this has a little bit of a flashback, shows him deciding to go to war because the character, much like Rick, is not super rah, but he just wants to fly. He wants to be in the plane. He wants to be in the cockpit.
The only way to fly is to be part of the army.
And his wife accuses him in this issue of using the war as his way to escape her. And I was like, ooh, that's good. And she's pregnant, she's standing on the doorstep while he drives off in the red convertible with his war buddy. And then the rest of the issue is him with some bats. So in this world, rather than being cats like they are in Mouse, all the Germans are bat people, and all the Americans are Americans and the Brits are dogs, which I think is true in Mouse as well. The Americans are dogs.
So he went down the first issue, and he's been on the run, as the title might say, escape. He's been on the run from I'm just going to call them the Nazis. I don't even know what their names are. He's been on the run from the Nazis ever since, and escaping various situations. The last issue being the most harrowing, where he was in like a running gun battle if I recall correctly, or I could be elucidating that. So as far as I know, a running gun battle for most of that issue. He got wounded. And here he's now found himself with a sympathetic German family, a father and a son, who have hidden him in their house.
Yeah, and the father is a baker, but was able to get him fixed up and gives him some food, lets him stay for the night, but then basically says, I can't risk my son for you. So as soon as first light's out, you need to go. And then the issue ends on this really sad moment where the main character, his name's not Melvin, but I think Melvin is the real person he's based off of.
I don't know their names.
Sees the kid holding a picture of his family, and there's another kid and a mom, and they're not in the picture anymore. Which, you can presume what has happened, and this guy is one of the guys who is literally dropping the bombs to make that happen. So,
right, as we talked about in other issues, is that when Allied bomber pilots went down in Germany, it was like the worst possible scenario. I mean, it was bad. All POWs, it was bad for them, but these guys particularly would be the target of wrath from the people on the ground because they were bombing them, and so they weren't just worried about encountering the German troops. They were worried about encountering the German population. It's funny. I'm scrolling through this book, and at no point do I see this guy named in the book. Like in the opening scene, you think he would be his friend or his wife would have called him by name, but no one does.
Yeah,
no one does. I mean, I know that the guy in the Convertible's name is Flynn. I know his name, but the main guy is not identified.
Her name is Ruth. He says her name, but yep,
it's crazy. I mean,
Milton. He calls him Milton. Milton.
Does he?
Not Melvin. Yeah, the British dog calls him Milton.
When does he do that?
It's the end of page 5. Final panel on page 5.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, right. Milton. So, I mean, there's not a ton to talk about because the recap you just gave is basically what the entire issue is. But what you have here is incredibly deep world building, not just in the story, but the art. I mean, this is Daniel Cunha, as you said, doing some of his best work. The world, the clothing, the uniforms, the quote unquote German city, the house this guy's crashing in. It's all very considered, and you get a real sense of the surroundings. This guy's kitchen has got cracks in it from the war. They're in the walls. They've got hardly any food. It's just, and they've got boards on the windows. It feels very lived in, and you get the sense of everything. There's wonderful light work. This is page 20, where Milton is going to sleep on the couch, and there's great shadows on him and the wall from the lantern. And then you turn the next page when Milton is looking at the dad on his couch, and the art is just wonderful. There's almost black and white in the next panel.
Yep.
It's just these are relatively quick reads. There's not a ton happening, but what is happening is really, really great.
And I like some of the hints that we get of the larger world of, like, there's talk of an army of polar bears moving in from the east. So that's clearly supposed to be the Russians, but I'm just like, ooh, I want to see the Russian polar bear army real bad. That sounds cool.
It's tough for me, and I've made this criticism every time we talked about it. I don't want to beat it to death, but I mean, I would have obviously preferred he just done a straight up World War II story. But I understand in the world of comics that to get this published, I mean, Rick could have gotten it published. To get it more widely read, he needed to make this animals, which makes it then a fantasy story, which makes it more accessible to the main audience. I know Rick doesn't need to enter Garth Ennis's world of pain trying to get realistic World War II stories to the general public.
And I'm
as much as I would love it. It's just I know that's not what's going to happen.
Well, it's funny. Rick Remender's a weird writer for me because I'm like a huge fan of his stuff, but I only like about 50% of it. And
I love him, and I love him as a person, and I love his work. But we just talked about it last week. I don't love his fantasy stuff, which I guess technically is. But I went 17 issues on the
Sacrificers.
I just couldn't do it anymore. And there was several times I almost dropped off of it. I dropped off the book I did with Joe Pena. There's just I love his other stuff a lot. I love Black Science. I love Deadly Class. I love The Scumbag. Books like that. But when it comes to the fantasy work, it doesn't connect with me for some reason.
Yeah. So, this is basically in the real world. I mean, it's got dogs and bats, but it's basically people, and so I'm fine with it, and it works for me, and it's just gorgeous. And the essay in the back, he's got tons of photographs of his uncle, and this is just a way of sort of learning about his uncle, because as many people who came back from the war, they didn't talk about it, and so he doesn't know much about what happened. He knows a little bit. My grandfather didn't talk about it. I talked to him a little bit. He talked more towards the end of his life than he did when he was younger. All I knew was he had metal in his neck when I was a kid. That's all I really knew. I would touch the shrapnel under his skin when he would hold me. Grommets. God, Grommets was so good. Then the Holy Roller. Like, I love so much of Rick's work. It's just a couple of series that just don't connect with me.
But this one's great. And I was happy you picked it, but also surprised and happy and surprised. And there was a lot going on this week. It was a very busy week.
I aim to be surprising and delightsome, so I'm glad.
But you had another candidate, and that was Detective Comics.
I did. So this is Tom Taylor on Detective Comics, and I just think, I mean, I miss him on Nightwing, but this is still just great. Tom Taylor doing the Bat Family.
Right.
Sorry, that was Clem.
That's okay. Clem's got thoughts on Batman as well.
We just finished talking about the dogs. So this is an arc. They're introducing a new villain, which is always somewhat of a risky proposition. And it's a villain called the Lion, and he's got like amber eyes, like an actual lion would. And I immediately started wondering when they introduced the character when Scarecrow was going to show up, just because I immediately wonder when they're going to do Scarecrow, because I was like, oh, this is going to have like a Wizard of Oz thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've got a lion character, now we've got a Scarecrow character.
Interesting.
And Batman has been inculcated with this virus that removes the fear response from your brain. And you would think Batman's, already a pretty fearless person, but it's causing him to act more and more reckless as the virus starts to take over his system. And eventually he's going to have to go into a quarantine. So he's got a ticking clock before this virus takes over his system, and he's no longer safe to be Batman, which is, I think,
it's not a good thing. We talk about Daredevil being the man without fear, and Green Lantern having no fear, but like they do. Mm-hmm. they just know how to overcome it. To truly have no fear, especially in Batman's line of work, would be a disaster for him. He wouldn't last too long. He would do things that he knows he shouldn't do, and he wouldn't come out the other end of it. But I think you're bearing the lead here, which is this is a Batman, Superman, Lois Lane team up. Which
yes, some great Lois in this,
which was awesome. I mean, this issue was great. It was a weird week of comics.
Yeah, you seemed skeptical when I said this was in the running, but you
I hadn't read it yet. And I wasn't skeptical. I was just surprised. It was a weird week of comics itself. Reading comics on Thanksgiving week is really hard for the show, because the time in which we do most of our work for the show, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, is like prime family time. And so I was sneaking books in like on the couch while people were out in the kitchen. I was sneaking them like while people were watching a football game I was interested in. Like I was just trying to do as best I could. And so this week there's a lot of books that the details might be a little fuzzy, or I was having trouble remembering what had come before, which is a little bit what happened with this book. I had a little trouble remembering the details of the Lion story, but man, what a great team up this was between the three of them, where the three characters all brought their skills to bear in different ways. And while Superman went off to be the heavy, meaning, the heavy of the story means the bad guy, but to use his physical prowess, Lois and Bruce team up to basically use their mental prowess and be detectives together. And that was so cool. And
the way that Lois charms people rather than scaring them. Batman gets what he wants through intimidation and fear. She gets what she wants through making connections and and getting people to trust her, which definitely, I think, shows the distinction between being an investigative journalist and a detective, right?
Yeah.
So it was just great. Yeah.
It was funny that they go up to Star Labs, because that's where the guy there's information there, and he's like, one guard, don't worry, I'll take care of him. And she's like, you don't have to take care of him. Let me just go talk to him.
You're right. I mean,
just chill out for a second. And she did, because she knew him, and then later on there's a doctor, and he does his patented Batman shows up.
It's sort of like in Dungeons and Dragons, most scenarios have a non-violent resolution that is possible if your characters have like the right mix of skills in terms of like persuasion and charming and intimidation, and all this other stuff. But inevitably, if you get one person in your party who just wants to pick the fight every time, once the fight has started, you can't really back out of it. So I feel like Lois is constantly trying to be like, no, I've got other methods, Batman. Stop Batmaning every.
So
when every problem you have is a bat-shaped nail, or when the only tool you have is a bat hammer.
There was only one thing in the book that really gave me pause, and that was so at the end, this guy they're trying to talk to has the formula in him, so he's got no fear, and he jumps off a balcony, and so Batman jumps off after him, tackles him in midair, and then sails across the street and crashes through a window. What looks like head first.
Yes, it does.
For the guy. And so I was like, so is he dead? Because that would have cut his face off.
Right. And that the physics of that scene were a little strange to me, because it's like, well, the guy had already jumped presumably as hard as he could.
Right.
But Batman didn't think he was going to make the
Right.
jump between buildings, so Batman then dives after, grabs him, and then is able. So is Batman just like that much better a jumper?
His momentum. Well, yeah, he's a better jumper, and his momentum takes him across the street. But
Because,
yeah,
I mean, I wanted to see him like flare out the cape a little bit. Like I
Uh,
wanted to see some Batwing action. I think that would have sold it a little.
this was
better
more
for me.
of wait, shouldn't this guy be really painfully dead?
Yeah,
But
super cut up.
also, I know this has been around a while. This isn't specific to the book. This is more of a question I had. If you go to page, where is it? The one where he shows up with the woman, page 10, where he pops up for the scientist. You get a really good look at he's wearing the new Batman costume. He's got the new Batman built. And this has been plaguing me the entire time since they haven't introduced the costume. What are those two like
Little protrusions, yeah,
at the bottom that are curved in? They've been there the whole time. They've been on the suit the whole time. But why do they curve in?
I don't know what those are.
What do they hold? Why does one of them look like it's got a spike at the bottom? Why would he do this? What's so important that they've got to have special ones? Like it's just I want to know. I want Matt Fraction to explain it to me.
Last thing, just out of curiosity, I don't have a good answer, but Jonathan Crane, Scarecrow, recognizes Lion. He says, "You're different, but I still know who you are." So who do you think? Who's the reveal?
Oh, I don't know. The thing is, sometimes the reveals for us, and sometimes the reveals for the character. So it could be to someone he knows that we don't. I don't know. I had the same thought.
I mark my words. Tom Taylor is going to bring some sort of Tin Man and some sort of.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Does that mean Iron Man is next, or is it?
I don't know.
Cyborg? Who would be the Tin Man in the DC universe?
John Henry Irons, maybe.
Oh, that's possible. And Barbara makes an appearance as Batgirl,
I mean, there's literally a character made of tin in the Metal Men.
Well, that's true. But we get, Tom Taylor's doing a really good job of layering in the Bat family and the DCU as a whole, and it's a bummer because we know from talking to the people in the companies that Detective and Action sell worse than Batman, Superman. They just do. People buy the books with the title of the character with the title. But Batman is great. We love the Fraction book, but this book is also great, and people who are reading Batman should be reading Detective Comics. It's really good. If you read his Nightwing run and for some reason missed this one, this is the go back and start this arc at 1101.
It just never ceases to amaze me how clear-headed and firm of a grasp Tom Taylor has on these characters, and whenever he's writing them, they just feel right. They just feel like, oh yes, that is how Batman should sound and act. That is how Superman should sound and act. That is how Lois should sound and act. Like it's just pitch perfect.
We were hoping he would graduate after the books he did a couple years ago and into a bigger book. Detective is probably technically his biggest book he's done, but people should be reading it. I know people don't tend to read Detective, but man, you should. We're going to start a mail-in campaign. We'll be back right after this. Okay, another book this week that came out that was worth talking about, DC KO number 2, the second issue in this KO event, of which I think there were like 5 or 6 tie-in books this week of the books I read.
It was a tough week for this many tie-ins because I was starting to lose track.
And this... I didn't get to talk about issue 1. I think that was a show you and Josh did. Well, I could be wrong. I think you talked about Night Fight, not TKO.
Yeah, we talked about Night Fight.
This event is simultaneously stupid and kind of fun. Not kind of fun. It is fun.
I feel like
it's stupid, but it's fun.
I feel like there's a lot of treading water in the early stages of it. Like I'm just like, we have spent a lot of time talking about this tournament and talking around it and getting ready for it, and I'm just like, I'm ready to just have them start fighting.
Well,
which I think now. I think we're going to get more of that. But
what I need is a reading order, because this week I tend to always read the main book first because I always feel like that's where the other books hang off of. But then I read like Superman, which went backwards and then led to this book, and then there was Flash, and there was Justice League, which we're going to talk about later, and there was other ones that I can't think of off the top of my head. But it's fun. I really like the opening scene with, I guess we're having this wraparound scene in every issue where Bruce and Diana and Clark and Lois are playing a tabletop game where they are the characters, and I thought that was a fun conversation about what they would do in their life if they weren't superheroes. So I liked that conversation quite a bit.
Yeah, me too. I loved the 2-page spread of all the different powerful artifacts of the DCU.
Yeah, I mean this is the dumb part. Like, okay, And is there a ring that that basically shoots that Speed Force? I don't think so, but whatever. Like it's all.
Well, and it was some of the items were a little bit surprising. I mean, I
Yeah.
think like having the Blue Beetle Scarab is cool, but I wouldn't think of Adam's belt as being one of the most powerful artifacts
But it
in the
is.
DC universe. But it is apparently. I like the Genie Pen, Cosmic Rod. Love to see that Starman Cosmic Rod, the old school,
Right.
not the Jack,
Yeah.
not the Ted Knight one. The Ted Knight, not Jack Knight. Yeah.
It just this was a mad scramble for all the artifacts and the people. The how many artifacts was it? It was some number of artifacts.
It was as many. It was half as many people are in the tournament. So
it was basically musical chairs. Everyone who got an artifact got to move forward, but everyone who didn't get an artifact gets killed. And obviously, this is all like everyone's getting killed. This is all going to get refreshed at the end. But so a bunch of people get artifacts, and some are surprising, some are not. And then we're moving on into like the side books. So next week we have like Superman versus Captain Atom, and then we have Wonder Woman versus Lobo coming up. So some of the big fighting will be happening in the side books. But like Jason Todd moves forward, and Jay Garrick moves forward, and
Lex Luthor pulls a Rick Grimes on Superman,
cuts his hand off, and then shoots him full of kryptonite shards. But then the magic of the belt gives him a new hand. I guess that's fine. I don't know. I'm enjoying it. It's not the best thing in the world, but it's fun, and combine that with One World Under Doom, which was more substantive but also fun. It's been a good time for events, which hasn't been in a long time.
It's taking all the action figures and smash them together.
Yeah.
Like that's taking all the toys out of the toy box and just going.
And that's one way to do it, right? That's one way to do an event. It doesn't have to be so solemn. The big twist at the end is that Booster
has been possessed by Darkseid.
Seems like it. And so he is entering the arena as the wild card, Booster Gold. Whatever. I mean, why not? Have fun with it. Have a good time. All the time. That's what I say. Did you read Justice League Unlimited 13?
Yes, I did.
So this is a DCK
a little bit of a bait and switch, putting my boy Batman Beyond there on the cover, and it's Tim. It's not even Terry, but that's.
Oh, is it Tim?
Yeah, they keep calling him Tim. It's not Terry McGinnis. It's Tim Drake, apparently.
Oh, that makes sense. Because the whole time I was wondering where Tim was. It says DCKO tie-in on the cover, but I mean it is, but it's mostly the adventure of this team of characters from other versions of DC going on this adventure to hell. And I was thinking about it, and most of them are from the 90s. So like Alan Scott,
late 90s, like late 90s, early
Kingdom
2000s.
Come, Green Lantern, Superman, Electric Superman, Batman Beyond, and the Aquaman with the the blade hand, and they're almost
Gardner when he was Warrior.
Guy Gardner from the early 90s. Most of them are from the 90s. I guess Mr. Terrific is not, and I don't know where this.
I think that version of Alan. When was Kingdom Come published?
It was the 90s.
Yeah. Dan Moore draws a great Emerald Knight Alan Scott. Like holy crap.
He draws all of them.
Yes, but I mean, in particular, I thought that Emerald Knight version of Alan Scott just looked incredible.
Yeah, and then Mark Waid is writing this, and so that would be the correct version. He wrote Kingdom Come, and so he's a very this Alan Scott doesn't give a shit if you're having a problem. He's like, we have a thing to do, and we don't have time for crying. And so I guess that's Tim. When Tim in the bat suit is having problems dealing with what he's seeing in hell, Alan Scott's like, you have to suck it up and let's move forward. And so I guess there are other things going on that tied into DCKO, and there's a lot of other characters we meet outside of this mission.
I wasn't super familiar with Owl Woman. Is she from the?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is she from the Crime Syndicate world with Owlman, or because her costume looks more like Night Owl from Watchmen than it looks like Owlman from that other alternate.
Well, Owlman's costume is kind of like that.
This felt more Watchmen-esque than not to me.
Well, Owl Woman was on the Global Guardians, but this version of her looks different. She's from DC 1 Million.
Also, I'm happy Mr. Terrific is getting more play since the movie, more fair play. I cannot condone ditching the jacket for sleeve tattoos. I don't care. He can have tattoos that say fair play on his arms. Yeah. I need the jacket. The jacket is too good to
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
Forgo.
It's a great costume, and Maybe it's hot. He was going to hell. Who needs a jacket down there?
Yeah, but wouldn't you want coverage? You wouldn't want skin exposed in hell.
I guess. Is it so? Is what version of Tim? What version of Tim is wearing the Batman Beyond suit?
He's had it on like when they've done like future stories, they've done it where the Batman Beyond suit becomes Tim's suit when he takes over the mantle.
Huh.
So they have done that before. I can't remember an exact storyline, but it's not the first time I've seen Tim in that outfit.
So has this whole time it been, because the character acts more like
Terry
than
I agree.
someone who's been a superhero for decades.
I agree.
He acts like someone who's very new to the game and is overwhelmed.
Yep.
Are we sure it's Tim?
They call him Tim.
Maybe that's Terry's nickname.
That doesn't make any sense.
In my head, he's Tim. I mean, he's Terry because I mean, you know me, I'm not a huge Batman Beyond guy, but I thought it was him the whole time.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, I mean, it was still fun. This was probably the most fun of the tie-ins this week. I enjoyed them all. I thought Flash was good. Mark Waid's doing Flash again, but with this team up and Dan Moore's art and all the stuff happening, I think this was the most fun one of the team ups. So check it out. I think we'll be back in a second. We're going to not figure out this Terry Tim thing, but we'll be back in a moment. Okay, Green Lantern 596 or 29. I loved this comic. This was written by Jerry Adams, art by Carmine, D. Domenico. And this was a one-shot team-up between Green Lantern and Green Arrow. And besides looking terrific from the Carmine D. Domenico art, it's just the kind of story Green Lantern book needed. It was, it's been so mired in all these cosmic sagas and all the different lanterns and the galactic government being taken over by bad people and having to beat them and then reforming the Green Lantern Corps. And all this stuff has been happening forever. And it's been fun, but just like exhausting. And so finally we just have a one shot where Green Arrow and Green Lantern get together and stop some bad people. And that's really all I really wanted. And it was really fun. And it was really well drawn. And I guess they're going to be doing a series of team ups because he next goes to Gotham because he needs Batman's help, and in the modern day continuity, Batman and Hal don't like each other, and so that
cool.
would be full of
I'm
tension.
gonna have to check this out.
You'll like this issue.
I didn't realize it was a one shot, or I might have put it on the stack.
Well, I mean, it's a one shot in that the team up is a one shot, but the case that Hal is on is going to continue to Gotham next.
Gotcha.
And so, but the Hal Ollie adventure happens here.
Now, is Carmine? Carmine has to be one of the strongest artist names in there's not a bad comic artist named Carmine.
I don't think there's ever been a bad Carmine.
Exactly that's what I'm saying. Like going all the way back to the Golden Age, Carmine Infantino, all the way up to modern day. We've got solid Carmine art happening in comics.
If you see a Carmine, it's a name you can trust, and then you know you can pick that comic up and it'll be awesomely drawn. I'm assuming this storyline will lead up to Green Lantern 600, which we're 4 issues away from. So that would make sense. This would be the 5th one. So I guess this is a culmination. We'll see what they're going to do with that. Why don't you tell us about Devil on My Shoulder, which I skipped because I love Kyle Starks, I love Peter Kowalski, but I guess Dark Horse just figured out that Kyle Starks' horror books sell better than his silly, fun books that I love from him.
Yeah, this was very much not silly. This was very dark. It actually has a honest to goodness trigger warning at the beginning of the book, first page. This book contains disturbing depictions of torture, kidnapping, graphic violence against women, physical abuse, and death. We promise her revenge will be just as bad. So, like a nice little twist of a Kyle Stark. So it's a woman who's found washed up on a riverbed or lakeshore, kind of hard to say, and you sort of that's the cold open, and then it cuts back to this woman who just gets randomly kidnapped by this group of young men and like tortured pretty terribly for some period of time, and then they think they've killed her. And they toss her body in the water, and then it washes up on shore, and she's still alive. So she gets somewhat fixed up, but not entirely. She's still pretty scarred and mutilated. And you jump ahead to a couple of years later. All the boys that kidnapped her are still out and free and successful and broy, and she is coming after them. And
this is a time-honored story.
Yeah,
if you go back to like the exploitation films of the 70s and 80s, this was like I Spit on Your Grave and all those things.
The cover is a little misleading because like there's no that character of this devilish being that's holding her arm
Yeah.
isn't portrayed in the book at any point. Maybe there's no hint of supernatural in the book so far.
Interesting.
So the only supernatural thing, and the devil on the shoulder, is she does end up at a monastery. So she escapes from the hospital before the police can question her, and she ends up hiding out in this monastery. And the Father Superior and a nun find her, and there's a hint that the Father Superior has a somewhat sordid past before joining the priesthood and getting his little white collar thingy.
As all priests are.
Sure, just on the run.
Yeah. It's just tough. I love Kyle Starks. I love Peter Kowalski, and they did really good work together in previous books. But the assassination and the sidekicks book and the hobo book, like those books are the Kyle Starks books. I love those fun action adventure comedic books, and he's done some. And I read one of his serial killer books recently, and it was fine. It was done well, but horror sells.
Yeah, there's not a joke in this book. The funniest part of the book was that page I read you where it's her revenge will be just as bad. Like that's the only laugh line in the book.
And you got to give it up to him. He's got range.
Yeah,
like he can write super silly, funny stuff and super dark, serious horror stuff. And so, good for him. Good for him. Let's take a quick break and talk to you about iFanboy. So iFanboy is listener supported, and we're coming to the end of the year. And we would not be sitting here talking to you if we did not have your listener support. We're not part of a media company. We're not part of a big network. We are all self-sufficient. We do everything ourselves. And we rely on the support of the listeners. How do you directly support the show? You go to patreon.com/iFanboy. You can become part of a great community on Discord and Facebook. You can vote in the Patron Pick. You get a Patron Power live in the show. You can join the monthly Patron Hangout that we do. At $10 a month or higher, you get an ad-free version of all of our shows. And you get the Pick of the Week show a day early on Saturday. Plus, you get access to the iFanboy After Show on Sundays, where we talk about all the books that didn't make the show's rundown. It's a lot of great value at the $10 or higher level. Big news. Black Friday is not just one day a year. It's also in your heart. We're having a 2025 Black Friday Patreon sale. So now's your chance to support iFanboy and save some money in the process. So we're offering 25% off annual memberships on Patreon for any membership tier from $10 per month or higher. So that means if you've been thinking about supporting, but you haven't pulled the trigger, you can do it now for a quarter off for the whole year. The sale's on right now. That's when the show comes out and runs for a week. It ends on Friday, December 5th at midnight. I think Eastern. I don't have that in my notes. So I think it's Eastern. But you've got a week to think about it. But it's a great deal. And go to patreon.com/iFanboy to sign up and use promo code BlackBolt to save 25% off an annual membership. We appreciate everyone. It's the holiday time.
Would Boltagon work as well? Can you use his full name?
Black Bolt is the only thing that works. We appreciate everybody's support. It's the holiday season. I know money's tight. The economy is annoying. But if you can consider supporting the show, we certainly appreciate it. And you get tons of great value out of it. People who are in our community are awesome. Spend all day hanging out on our Discord talking comics and all the great perks. The after show is like 20 to 30 minutes. It's basically another show you get for free. Also, I found out at Threadless.com, if you're thinking about gifts for the holidays, what better gift than to give your loved one or family member a very confusing t-shirt? They're all available at Threadless.com. We got 23 designs on t-shirts and more. Get them a GDAT shirt. Don't explain it. And then watch their faces. They try to figure out what it means.
It's a DVD copy of Greyhound.
Please film it and send it to us as they try to figure out what it could possibly mean. iFanboy.com/support. That's how direct donation via PayPal. So if you're an eccentric billionaire and needs to shed cash, please do here. We'll take care of all the tax implications and everything, all the problems. We'll take them onto our shoulders. And 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, we don't discriminate against the donation level. iFanboy.com/Amazon, the general shopping link. So I shop there, you shop there, we all shop there. If you're going to shop there during the holidays, consider using our link. We appreciate it. We get a piece of the sale. You don't have to worry about it. It doesn't get added to your sale. It gets taken off of the other side. And people who do it, lots and lots and lots of people do it, and we appreciate them. And this is the time of year when people really do it. And so think about helping us out and using that link. And then finally, bookshop.org. is our partner in helping local bookstores. If you buy a book through bookshop.org, a local bookstore will sell it to you. It won't be coming out of a giant warehouse. It'll be coming from a local bookstore in your area, or maybe not if you don't have one. Not all of the books are available, but with books we talk about are available on bookshop.org. We put the links on our posts on our website, and so we appreciate everybody who does that. Not just for us, but for the local bookstores themselves, who certainly could use the help. So thank you very much, everyone who helps support the show. We literally wouldn't be here without you. Let's move on to our next book, which is DC's I Saw Ma Hunkel Kissing Santa Claus #1. This is DC's holiday issue. Last week we had Marvel's was the pick of the week. This one, not the pick of the week, but I always read these holiday issues. I love them. I've read them ever since I was a kid. This one featured 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stories of DC holiday adventure. And there were a handful of good ones. There were also a handful of bad ones. There was one I didn't even read. So I didn't know the character. I didn't care. But I really enjoyed. Let me get this open so I can tell you which ones I enjoyed. That would probably help. The first story I really liked, that was written by Sebastian Bader and drawn by Scott Collins. That featured Ma Hunkel's daughter. She's the Twister girl. What's her name? On the Justice Society. She was complaining that they didn't have as much as some of her friends. And
Cyclone? Is that her
Cyclone, yeah, it's her. So she took her around and showed her all the wonderful things in her life that they have, which mostly include hanging out with the Justice Society. But it was a Justice Society comic written, drawn by Scott Collins, where she got to see, it's fun to hang out with and go to Dr. Fate's Citadel, or it's fun to hang out with.
Now, for folks not as steeped in DC lore as you are, should we tell them who Ma Hunkel is? Not like she's a super well-known.
She's on the cover.
It's the woman with a pot on her head.
She's got a pot in her head. It's from she's a
is she like the Justice Society's housekeeper or something like that?
She's a Depression era character. They wore pots on their heads back then. What else are they going to do? The second story I liked a lot too. This was a Captain Marvel Shazam story where it's the end of the year dance, and Billy and Captain Marvel Jr., whoever that kid is, Freddie Freeman, and they decide they're not going to get asked to the dance because I guess it's a Sally Hawkins dance. But then Billy gets asked out by a girl he likes, and so
Sadie Hawkins.
I don't know. We didn't have those things in my school. He gets asked out by a girl he likes, so he's very excited about it. But then he has to go off and save the day, or he meets a reporter who asks him to attend a charity function with her, and he's not going to do it until she says it's for benefiting the foster kids of Fawcett City. And he says, I'll definitely do it. Only to find out it's the same event. So he's going to the dance with the daughter, and also supposed to appear as the mother's date to the dance. And so hijinks ensue. And it was fun. I like that one. I'm trying to think of any other ones that really stood out. I mean, they were all right, but the first two right off the bat were really fun. I thought, this is going to be great. That second story was written by Ashley Allen, by the way. She's been doing some stuff I've been enjoying, so she's a name to watch out for.
Skimming through it now, looks like there's an Animal Man does.
This Animal Man does It's a Wonderful Life, where he's. It's basically like every adventure he gets taken out of, just another hero takes his place. So it's like,
so there is no point.
Well, no, the point is at the end that if he's removed from his family life, that's the problem. But at the end of the day, none of his heroing really made a difference. Like, that was kind of weird. There was one point where, like, what if you hadn't used this power to save the day? Well, Dixon would have showed up and done the same exact thing. It was kind of comedic, but kind of whatever. Oh, then there was a romance one between the Ray Palmer and Dr. Light, which I liked. That was a nice one. It was overall
anything to get her to lighten up, pun intended.
Seriously, God, remember her from that Crisis comic cartoon?
Yeah,
oh my
she's
God,
so mean.
This was worth reading. There was a Supergirl one, that really nice art from Anthony Marquez with J-Bone inks. This was one of the better ones DC's done in a while, and they haven't done.
Now, it looks like Clark is wearing a Smallville sweater. I don't know it's a good idea for Clark to be wearing blue sweaters with big S's on them. I feel like that's good. He's kind of blowing up his spot a little bit. He's risking a lot. Those books we're going to talk about. This has been a weird week. We might have a shorter show than normal just because, like we said, some of these books I read in like a booze-induced haze, just trying to get them done. So maybe just be what happens this week. Booze haze.
those books we wanted to talk about. At patreon.com/iFanboy, every patron gets a vote to add a book to the rundown. And this week, the overwhelming favorite, it was like a 4-1 winner over the second place book, was Batman, Green Arrow, The Question, Arcadia, Book 1 from DC Comics' Black Label line, written and drawn by Gabriel Hardman, with colors by Romulo Fiardo Jr. and letters by Simon Boland. And I think I was a little surprised when you told me initially we were talking that this wasn't in the running for Pick of the Week. I hadn't read it yet because we were both really excited for this. And anytime Gabriel Hardman does a new comic, it's exciting. And anytime,
especially interiors,
and he's doing Batman and The Question and Green Arrow, all characters he loves. That's exciting. But then I read it and I liked it a lot. But then I think I might have a guess as to why you didn't consider as a pick. So I'm looking forward to talking to you about it. So let's talk about the book.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. It was really solid. There were a few things I bumped on, like the idea that Vic Sage is driving around a Prius that he secretly souped up. I was like, that's dumb. Like, that's just a dumb idea. No, I thought it was really stupid.
His whole thing is that nothing is as it appears. So the Prius doesn't, which is a great car. My wife has one, but has a shitty, slow engine.
So he put a twin V6 in it. I feel like we've seen it before, but I love the image of the cave where the bat plane is hanging upside down like a bat.
Right.
That is the thing I liked about this issue. It's sort of a weird characterization of Ollie, but Ollie I feel like has been all over the place lately, and I haven't quite figured out what this character is doing in the modern, billionaire socialist. This is kind of an oxymoron. I liked that there were a lot of different bat suits in this. I thought Gabe really got to flex in terms of different suits. So he has a stealth suit with no cape, and at the end of the issue, they're up in somewhere snowy, and he's got like snow bat suit. And it reminded me of the action
back
figures.
to the old days of trying to sell me a million toys, which I bought. So this is very much an environmental story, taking place in Hub City, Gotham City, and Star City.
Yep.
Is it Star City now?
Yep.
Where it hasn't all come together yet, so we don't have a central storyline, but there is a sketchy organization that is making equipment in Hub City at an abandoned factory and shipping them to, I think, Star City.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bruce, as Batman,
to a conference in Belize. Oh no,
he stops what he thinks is a terrorist attack. Turns out it's an environmental protest, so he lets him go, even though they throw paint on him. And ends up deciding to go to a conference in Belize about sustainable cities, which he wasn't going to go to in the first place. But he ends up going because he's curious about this protest, and then finds out while he's there that that's all mixed up in the is it Janus? What is the name of the corporation? Something Juno, I think, right? Juno. The Juno Corporation is mixed up in his conference. The Juno Corporation's making these sketchy things in Hub City. They are doing stuff in Star City. So we haven't it's not all come together yet, but it's all circled around each other.
They're claiming that they're building sustainable floating cities
that
will exist out on the oceans.
Rise with the sea level.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought maybe you were bumping on things like Alfred being a dick about the protesters.
No, that didn't bother me so much. I just think
here's what I came to on this book. It's Black Label, so it's out of continuity. Obviously, Alfred's alive. Ollie was forced to sell his stake in Queen Industries, so he's no longer rich, although he still has a great apartment. But he's like reduced to like doing bar tricks with his bow and arrow for money to drink at the bar, and he's basically broke and doesn't seem to be with Dinah anymore, who's in Seattle. So that was the scene where I thought this felt like maybe this was the Green Arrow from the Mike Grell run.
I could see that
in the 90s, which wasn't a Vertigo book, but basically was a Vertigo book because Vertigo wasn't a thing yet. It was an adult book, had sex and nudity, and he only shot regular arrows, and that character felt like this one. And so in my head I put it there because there were no other superheroes in the book other than Dinah, but she wasn't a superhero. She was his girlfriend who ran a flower shop in Seattle. So I put this story into that bucket. And if I do that, it's a darker, meaner, angrier world. Then I could understand Alfred being kind of a dick, and things. And I thought the opening was interesting, where the Questions character is a journalist, but he's like, journalism's dead.
It seems like Hub City is dead.
Hub City is dead, but he's like, I can't be a journalist up there in that tower. I have to be on the streets. And I thought this was really good.
It was really good. I love a classic Vic Sage question. I like that the Question is annoying to all the other heroes. Like he's not like a threat. He's not like an active problem or villain, but he is annoying. Like when he he's the kind of guy you put in your phone as don't answer.
Right. which
which
Rorschach would have also been, who he's based on. Like it's like, oh God, this guy again. And which is basically what Green Arrow says when he calls him. He's like, oh, you, God damn it. And
he's like, how'd you get this number? How'd you get my number? Clearly, Ollie has been trying to avoid him. But...
And Bruce, I liked Bruce at the convention because all those assholes are assholes. And he's like, oh, you are all assholes. Like, they want to make a floating city just for the rich. And Bruce is like, well, I think a city should be for everybody. They're like, oh, where do you live?
Well, and I thought it was interesting that they I know this is not in canon technically, but I thought it was interesting that they confirmed that Gotham is built below sea level, which, in the most recent movie, they have like seawalls that are keeping the sea back.
Well, so many East Coast cities are like in trouble. So that made sense. I thought Gabriel Hardman did a really good job with the characters where they are recognizably themselves, but they're just slightly tweaked. They're maybe a little bit more on the edge than you would normally get. In the Black Label book, you can have that. You can have cursing. You can have Ollie's butt. You can have all kinds of things happening. I really like this. I'm looking forward to more and seeing now as the characters come together what the story is going to be.
Yep, me too.
All right, so let's rate Batman, Green Arrow, The Question, Arcadia Book 1 out of 5 ratings.
Give it a really, really solid 4.
I'm going to go 4 1/4, 4.25. And I'm excited for more. I was excited for it. Like I said, we never see Gabriel doing interiors. And so to see him do them was pretty great.
Yeah, it was.
Patreon.com/iFanboy. And he's a great writer. Patreon.com/iFanboy is how you can vote to add a book to the rundown. Every patron gets his vote. But if you give it the $5 or higher level, you get a patron power live on the show, like this patron, Ryan.
This patron who's getting a power is Drew Gatcum. Gatcum? I hope I'm saying that right. So I am on top of a mountain. It is actively snowing. I was out walking Clementine, the dog you heard earlier in the show this morning, with my coffee. And my coffee was I sent Connor a picture that a drop of my coffee came out of the cup and froze to the side of the cup.
Not great. Not ideal.
No, I mean, I love it. This is you're the one who has the most wonderful time of the year as your headline. So Drew, when he's in situations like this, he has a power called the Mighty Wind. So he can inhale the wind and get the wind he can make the air still around him within about 100-foot radius. So if it's really windy out, he can just go and suck it all into his lungs and take the wind away.
And what happens to it? He can shoot it back out?
He can shoot it back out, but he doesn't have to shoot it back out right away. So the wind can be stored temporarily, and he has like mutant myoglobin cells in his muscles, in his muscle fibers, and he can temporarily store the wind in there, which is actually a thing that it's one of the ways that marine mammals are able to dive for really long periods of time. So like the air, the oxygen that they need to stay alive, they can store oxygen in their muscles, not just their lungs. So they have like extra storage for staying underwater for a long time. So he can do that, but with the wind, and then he can release it at the same force at a later time.
So he could conceivably have very powerful wind.
Yes. And he can't like
power.
if he's like still holding on to the wind, he can't like suck in another amount of wind. Like it's a one,
right?
He's
all full up.
Yep.
This works with hot wind, I assume, as well.
Yep. Any wind. So if you definitely want him on your, I think there are a couple of scanning through the powers log. I think there are a few patrons that have like sails that they can deploy. So that's the team up you want. You want Drew on your team because he can get you across the lake in no time.
And so if he inhales the wind but hasn't expelled it yet, is there any detriment to him? Can he still walk around like a normal person? And he can still function. His reserves are full, but he's not like he can talk, he can do all these things.
Yep. Once he's gotten it from his transferred from his lungs to his muscles, he has to kind of like swallow it in.
All right, Drew. Thank you for being a patron. Patreon.com/iFanboy. Every patron gets to vote about the rundown, and at $5 higher level, get the power live on the show, just like Drew just did. Let's answer an email. This email comes from Greg M. from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He says, "What is it about certain characters that give them the staying to last through the decade? Staying power, I think, is the word that's missing there. What secret sauce do Superman, Batman, and Captain America have to keep them popular over characters like Blue Beetle, Captain Atom, or even Captain Marvel, Shazam, if you're Mark? Who debuted around the same time?" If I've been thinking about, you know what? I'm going to read this again because I read this all with the wrong punctuation and I'm tired. Greg M. from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania says, "What is it about certain characters that give them the staying power to last through the decades? What secret sauce do Batman, Superman, or Captain America have to keep them popular for characters like Blue Beetle, Captain Atom, or even Captain Marvel, Shazam, who debuted around the same time?" I've been thinking about this since Pick League 996 when you guys told us to ask this question. I'm nothing if not a good soldier. I have no memory out of that at all. But that's fine. I think we said this last week. You could just say whatever you want in these emails. We believe you. I believe you asked that question, but I don't remember doing it. What gives certain characters staying power over others, Ryan?
Well, what's interesting is, he references Captain Marvel / Shazam as debuting around the same time as Superman. When Captain Marvel debuted, he was more popular than Superman. Like Captain Marvel outsold Superman, which I think is one of the reasons DC eventually sued them because they were kind of getting their lunch hands.
Was it? But was his? I mean, I don't know this. Maybe you do. Was it? What? So then, but then why didn't he stay popular? Was it the lawsuit, or was it just something?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I think there's, you, Connor, often talk in terms of iconography. So like, there's something like you have a character named Captain America. His costume is red, white, and blue.
Right.
There's an iconographic status to that a Blue Beetle doesn't have.
Yes. There's I think there's like character types. There's what do you call them? They're not tropes, but they're it's just they're like Batman is the ultimate sort of character of his type, the man with no power who uses his smarts and abilities to succeed. Superman is the ultimate character of his type, which is like man from another place with all of the power and all the responsibility, and he's like the ultimate archetype. That's what
and there's a certain element of them being power fantasies, right? So like there are plenty of times in life where I wished I was stronger, or I wished I had more resources, or I wished I could solve a problem with my brain better. And like that lends itself to those characters that are more almost fundamental and simple rather than like a firestorm. I've rarely wished I could transmute elements with my nuclear powers. It's
and Blue Beetle is a great character, but he's not elemental in the same way Batman is.
And Blue Beetle's also, if there's a lack of consistency, because the original Blue Beetle is not even Ted Kord. Like the original Blue Beetle is a Golden Age character that when they were just cranking out characters left and right, you had Green Hornets and Blue Beetles and just whatever you could put on shitty newsprint paper and get on the stands and get kids to buy was being thrown out there during that era of comics. And so then you go through this iteration where Blue Beetle becomes somebody else, Ted Kord, who's like a C-list character that definitely has a following and a fan base and people enjoy. But then now it's Jaime Reyes and it's like a completely different power set and a different look and a different design.
There is something elemental though. Like I literally happen to look down at my phone, which my current wallpaper is the Superman balloon from 1940 Macy's Day Parade. And so that's just 2 years after he was created. So there's something in the sauce, and it's all the elements coming together. Is an immigrant story. It's a power fantasy story. It's at the time when it comes out in the Depression. This is a guy that helps the little guy over the famous early story about him helping people over a crooked landlord. Like there's an element to the character. You put the stuff in the recipe, and it just works. And same thing with Batman. He's the orphan. He is all alone in the world. He's the rich guy in a poor world that uses his money to help people. And that just lives. And then when you start building on that, you had the sidekick in, which was very popular in the time. You had the carnival, the circus-like sidekick. And then suddenly you build the pieces together. and that creates a character that becomes an archetype, right? There's so many characters in the comic book world that are versions of Batman, that are versions of Superman, that are versions of Captain America. Captain America is the patriot archetype. He is the
and
patriotic hero archetype, and everyone else is built off of that.
And Grant Morrison kind of tapped into this a little bit with the idea that like these are gods, like this is mythology, this is modern mythology. Like Superman is a Zeus-like figure, and I get annoyed. I don't know how much I've talked about this on the show before, but I get annoyed when in the more modern movies, Superman keeps being depicted as a Christ figure. Because to me, that's not it. Like Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster were Jewish. He is a Moses figure. He's literally the baby put in a basket. Like that's the origin story of Moses. That's the origin story of Superman.
Right. And he's the Ubermensch. He's the
and then he's raised by foreigners. He's raised by a different society than his own, and then becomes the greatest of them.
It's the ultimate immigrant story. It's
like we haven't touched on Spider-Man, but like Spider-Man's like the ultimate puberty story, right? It's something that every comic book reader is going to go through.
He's the geek. He's the opposite of Bruce Wayne. He's the opposite. I mean, he's the opposite of Steve Rogers after the serum, but before the serum, they're similar in that, So in the 30s and 40s, you have the Depression-influenced characters, right? The immigrants, the poor, the rich who are helping the poor. It's all about what was happening in the United States at the time. Jump to the 60s when Marvel comes back. And then you have a different kind of character because the world is different. And so you have the science-based characters, and you have the science nerds who are all the heroes. You've got Bruce Banner, you have Reed Richards, you have Peter Parker.
Well, pretty much all of the
Tony Stark is in
all of the mainstay, like most of the mainstay Marvel characters. I actually wrote an essay about this in college. Most of the mainstay Marvel characters that come out in the 60s, all their powers are based on radiation on some level.
Because of the fears of the bomb. But I think
that's really interesting because it's like you're going from the age of World War II and the Depression into the atomic age, and so suddenly the origin of all the characters, even characters that previously were magic based, like Green Lantern, suddenly become sci-fi characters and become a hotshot test pilot, right? Again, the 60s, the right stuff, breaking the sound barrier, Chuck Yeager, all that. But then like with Peter Parker in particular, I think, there's something, again, iconic and
he's the ultimate underdog, which
about, the kid with nothing who suddenly has access to power.
Then the power doesn't
solve all his problems.
Any of his problems. He's the ultimate underdog. He's the opposite of Bruce Wayne. He is not confident in his abilities. He is not rich beyond his wildest dreams. He has to make the rent and get, deal with the bullies in high school. And that's why I think Peter should always stay young, because what he taps into is all the problems that teenagers feel.
And it's also why it's
much harder to feel them when you're married to a supermodel and living happily ever after. You have to have Spider-Man is elemental in the I'm downtrodden and I don't realize how good I am.
And the other thing that I think makes Spider-Man iconic in the staying power, and this is also true for Batman, is like, look at who they're up against, right? The villains are also as equally iconic. So the stories are, and with Spider-Man, they did the simplest thing in the world. Has the powers of a spider, so most of his villains are animal-based people, and that also makes the iconography of it very easy, right? It's very easy to have a character who looks like a scorpion. You put a big scorpion tail on them, ta-da, icon,
and not all of them, but
there's like a visceralness to that of like Doc Ock and all these animals fighting each other feels, I don't know. I just think it's a more fundamental type of character than trying to explain how Warren Worthington III became Archangel after being Angel. It's
just some things tap into an elemental archetypal sense that we all have, and they tap into it better than others. And Captain Marvel, I guess you say it could have been Superman but Captain Marvel didn't have the immigrant experience version.
Well, and I think the thing I think the thing that Captain Marvel tapped into, and this is also why they introduced Robin to the Batman books,
right?
Is he's a kid, right? So it's more relatable than a Superman,
right? It's just you never. You have to take in all the elements of the characters, and then when they happen and why they happen and when they became popular, and look at the world around them and why certain characters, why they blow up and why others don't. And I can't even tell you. I've been reading comics that feature Captain Atom for my entire life. I can't tell you hardly anything about him. There's just nothing elemental about
Well,
Captain Atom.
I mean, technically he's very elemental, but
Right, but I'm saying, I don't know. Like he doesn't. Whatever his story doesn't speak.
well, and what's
in the
interesting
same
is
way.
like there are characters who are extremely popular that I don't think have that same iconic status, like Wolverine, right? Incredibly popular, one of the most popular characters in comics. But like, I don't think he's an icon the same way that a Batman or Superman.
Well, he was at a time in the 80s, and he was created, earlier than that, but he blew up in the 80s at a time when the anti-hero was the thing, and he's the ultimate anti-hero character.
But it's interesting, like,
I mean, the idea he's searching for his past, I mean, there are things about him that certainly are elemental. That,
but he's also, it's weird because he's an X-Man, because he's like a member of this team. There's no like Wolverine symbol, right? There's a sound effect, schnicked, and the claws. Right. But like Spider-Man, there's Spider-Man, Superman, Batman. They all literally have logos on their chest that it makes them identifiable across. You don't need You literally need a pentagon and an S, and people will know you're talking about Superman. That's it. Like it's really, really powerful in its simplicity.
And the bat symbol and the, this all of their look. It's just. Yeah, it's interesting. It is. I mean, it's interesting. Captain America doesn't really. He's got an A and a star. It's more the star. People, you see that T-shirts with the shield.
The shield, and he's also got the little wings on his helmet for some reason.
You see people walking around with the shield T-shirts. I mean, that's sort of identifiable, and it says something about your. So it's just some things just tap into the.
And it's simple, like it's boiled down. It's boiled down to the basics. There's nothing superfluous.
Right.
Which is one of the reasons we complain about Falcon Cap's costume all the time, because there's just too much going on. The color scheme is off. Shoulder pads are a nightmare.
Oh, how does he lift your arms up?
I don't know.
So I think this is a great question, Greg. Thank you for writing in to let us have the gift of this conversation on this day, the day after Thanksgiving, as we record. Greg wrote into contact@ifanboy.com. That's how you can get on the show. Feel free to write in now. We only are doing 2 more weeks of shows, but if you have a question burning a hole in your pocket for the next 2 weeks, you can send it in. We're only doing emails on the next episode. The episode after that, we're going to talk about our picks of the week by the numbers. So we're not doing emails for the final show. So you really only have 1 more week, and then I would wait till January to start writing in.
Because Connor gets rid of all the emails at the end of the year.
We don't get rid of them. We put them in a folder and we move on. We start the year fresh. Like all things, we start the new year fresh. Let's talk about the holiday schedule and actually what else we got going on. So a couple weeks ago, we had our last media explode of the year. We did our year in the mailbag. We answered your questions. Last week, Josh did his talk explode with Chris Eliopoulos, who appeared in episode 1000, but had never sat down with us and done the full iFanboy talk with Josh, and he did it, and it was awesome. People loved it. It was an emotional episode. I urge you to check it out. He's one of our oldest friends in comics. And coming up soon, when is it coming up? Yes, this coming week we have our pick of the week. I'm just going to put the schedule up, that way you can see it if you're watching at home. That's probably more helpful.
They're not viewers.
So this coming Thursday we have our more pick of the week 1000 emails special edition show, where we answered a whole hell of a lot of emails that we didn't get to on pick of the week 1000 because all the special guests are distracting. That's coming out this Thursday. Then Sunday, on December 7th, we have Pick Week 1006. I told you that's the last time we do emails this year. And then the following Sunday, December 14th, our Pick Week 1007. That's our final show of the year. We'll do our books, Pick Week by the numbers segment on that one. Thursday, December 18th, following that show, our last book explode of the year. Josh and I will talk about The Private Eye. And then right after that, our last show of the year, Sunday, December 21st, will be our All Media Year and Roundup show, where me and Josh and Ron Richards will look at the year in movies and television and books and music and comics and maybe other things we haven't finalized.
I've said it before when I've been on the show with Josh. I don't know if I said it before when I've been on the show with you, but truly one of my favorite podcast drops of the year. Like,
thank you. This one's looking dicey.
Look forward to it.
This one's looking dicey. There's not a great year for movies.
It is a great episode to get downloaded right before you have to go to the airport and deal with holiday.
Well, that's
travel.
Partially why we started putting out when we did originally, because it's something you can do. I know lots of people tell me they listen to it on their drive to their family's house and stuff. So you can look forward to that, even if it wasn't the best year for some of the things we're going to talk about. We have this grid where we fill out all of our picks and all the different categories, and it's looking light right now. Then we take our holiday break. We need it just to reset the batteries and the mental acuity. We'll be back slightly later than normal because of the way the schedule worked out. Sunday, January 11th, pick of the week, 1008. So you can look forward to that one. Coming back in January, another year of iFanboy. And Ryan, now your turn.
Yes, it is my turn. You can find our library of a whole crap load of shows over at ifanboy.com or wherever podcasts are sold. Never miss a show and find out what the pick of the week is before the show comes out by following us at iFanboy Comics on Instagram and Threads, at ifanboy.com on Blue Sky, and follow us individually at CS Kilpatrick on Instagram and at Ryan Haupt on Instagram. Don't miss out on former iFanboy writer Jeff Reed's video deep dives into forgotten comic book minutia every Tuesday and Friday across social media channels and YouTube. They are delightful.
They are delightful. Please consider writing us a review or please consider writing us a review or leaving a star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. If you're listening on Pocket Casts, as you may know, you need to be subscribed and have downloaded a few episodes before you can rate it.
I mean, how many times do we have to tell you people?
This will probably be one of the last times, but we appreciate everyone who leaves a rating and a review, especially the reviews. Helps the algorithm, the all-seeing, all-knowing algorithm that we all bow down to. Helps people find the show. That's what it does. And we appreciate it, taking the time to do that. You can subscribe to youtube.com/ifanboy. That's where you can find the video version of this show, as well as most of our special edition shows, our old video shows that we did from 2007, 2012. The archive's all there. You can find Jeff Reed's comic deep dives there as well. It's all happening at youtube.com/ifanboy. You can subscribe there. And finally, join us in the iFanboy After Show on patreon.com/ifanboy, where we'll share our thoughts on all the other books we read this week. It's going to be a weird one that didn't make the rundown. That's at patreon.com/ifanboy for everyone at the $10 a month tier and up. That's it for the show. My name is Connor. Thanks for listening.
My name is Ryan, and Clementine says hello too.